So, line 1 is from date time, which is a code that is gotten from the Python app itself. When you download it, you're importing the function date from it.
Function is a class, as you can see.
The class date from it.
Yeah. And datetime is a what?
Module.
It's a module. So let's go. And what do we hope to use the date class for?
You have to use the date class to get the current date.
Alright, and we can use it to find the current year, right? Good.
Yes.
So the first function, tell me what's happening here.
So for the first function, you are defining get birth year. And the for, you've used the input method to get the input from the user and save it into a variable named birth year string.
Why do we call it birth year string? Why string?
Because Python automatically saves all input as a string.
Alright. Line 5.
Then you go to line 5 where you turn the birth year string into a float or integer.
In this case, is it an integer or a float?
In this case, it's an integer.
Good, and then what happens here?
You return birth year to main.
So why do we return birth year instead of print it?
Because the code starts from main and also for it to be saved into the variable birth year in line 21 for it to be called when the code has started.
Alright, so if we don't return this variable, we are unable to use it in the main function, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good, so the next function is what?
Okay. The next function is get current year.
Tell me what's happening there.
In line 8, you are defining get current year, and you've used the date class dot today dot using the today function
to get the current date, isn't it? And then you save it
yes.
in the variable called what?
Current date.
And what is the next thing you do?
The next thing you do is you use the current date and use the year function.
Good.
To get only the year pass of the date.
Good. It's called the year property, as you can see. It's a year property. If it's a function, it will have this thing in front of it. See?
Okay.
Good. Now the date today function will give you a date, and now that date has a property called year, and you're accessing it using this dot notation. Now when you get the year, you're saving it where? Inside what?
You're saving it in current year.
Good. And then what are you doing with current year?
You're returning it.
Good. Returning it so that it can be used later where?
In the main function.
Yeah. So let's go. Tell me what's happening here.
So for line 13, they're defining calculate age with the argument current year and birth year.
What happens in line 14?
subtracts birth year from the current year
and
and
save
save
it,
it in a variable named age.
and then.
Then you return age
So tell me what's
to
happening
main.
here.
So you will define display age with the argument age, and then you print you are 8 years old.
Okay, tell me the first line that runs in this code when you run it. Line what?
20, 20.
26.
But doesn't it have to define main for main to be called?
Yeah, you have to define it. But when you run the code, 26 calls 20. So if it is 26 that calls 20, it means 26 has to run first before 20 runs. Don't you understand?
Okay.
Even though you have to define it first before. Alright?
Okay.
Alright, now what's the last code to run in this program? The last line,
24.
line 18.
Mm,
Because line 24 is calling line 17 and 18. It calls it.
okay, okay.
Alright, so let's move on to uh, line, this function here. Tell us what's happening.
Where's your cursor?
Yeah, this is the remaining function. Tell us what's happening.
So in this function, we're defining main,
Mm-hmm.
right? Before we call in get birth year, which
Yes.
is going to call line 3, to run its code, then return it back to line 21 to be saved in the variable named birth year.
Mm-hmm.
It will do the same for line 22. It will call get current year,
Mm-hmm.
which will get line 8 to 11 to run.
Mm-hmm.
It will return current year to be saved in the variable named current year.
Yeah.
And to do the same for age,
Mm-hmm.
which calls calculate age argument current year birth year,
Yeah.
which calls line 13.
Mm-hmm.
It will run its code and return age
Mm-hmm.
to be saved back in line 23 in the variable named age.
Age.
Then line 24 will call display age argument age, which will call line 17.
And then
It
18.
will finally print your age.
Line what prints the age?
Line 18.
Good, which makes it the last line to run, isn't it?
Yes.
Alright, so that's good. Now, if we decide to run this code, we'll press this. It says enter your birth year. If we put 2010, you are 13 years old. So the code runs.